Hello and welcome into the backfield. I'm your host Connor Schaff, and welcome to what is now going to turn into an annual series, given it was either the first or second video ever on this channel. And after looking at it, still in the top 10 most viewed videos on this channel. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. That's potentially a bad thing. But we will be having AI predict my 2026 March Madness bracket. Now, something really exciting about this concept, doing it year after year, is that AI gets a lot better in the course of a year. And I think that we're going to get a much better output this year than we did last year. Last year, I think that there were a lot of issues with how I, first of all, chose to conduct the process. And this year, I will explain how I did it, which I think works a little bit better. And I think that the AI as a whole is a lot better to give us a better prediction. Now, ironically enough, I make my own predictions and then have my ChatGPT predictions and my family bracket challenge, and my ChatGPT challenge finished ahead of myself pretty much because it picked the four number one overall seeds to make the final four, which is exactly what happened. So given that it basically predicted no upsets, there were not a lot of upsets to have. And I can show you how I've done this differently to hopefully make it predict a bit more upsets, a bit more action, while also trying to maintain a perfect bracket. And another thing, just before we start getting into it, is that I do apologize if the audio is a little worse than it usually is. I know obviously in my last video I talked all about how I fixed the audio, but I am currently at a different location that I flew to, and I cannot take my microphone on a plane. Now I could, but my microphone, every time I take it with me, gets flagged by TSA and has to get looked at for potentially having a bomb inside of it. And yes, this is a very true story. So, especially with everything going on with TSA right now, not a problem I want to deal with. So we're going micless, we're going just default computer audio, and it kind of just is what it is. Hopefully the audio is not too bad, and I do apologize if that is the case. So pretty much what I have done for today is I have compared to last time where we pretty much took a where we just took a chat with ChatGPT and asked it to predict each matchup. I have decided to use deep research, the feature that you can ask ChatGPT to pretty much do a detailed research report into a topic, and it will give you an output. So I have prompted it to predict the entire 6-18 March Madness tournament round by round, and I have given it this prompt. So I'll just quickly run through what this is here. And throughout this video, you are always free to pause, see what ChatGPT has to say about your team, see what I prompted it here, and you are always free to put this prompt in too and see if you get any different output, because at the end of the day, ChatGPT is a predictive model, which means there's no guarantee that my response will be the same as your response. If you ever want to try this, ask it to spell strawberry, and it will sometimes spell strawberry wrong. Oh man, I have a bit of a frog in my throat here, man. Let's try and get through this. But so pretty much what I prompted it to do is I've just explained to it how March Madness works, just so it doesn't make any mistake. I've explained how the seeding works, how we get to the different rounds, and I've also asked it how to produce a response. So it's going to give us what the matchup is. It's going to give us why one team can win, why the other team can win. It's going to give us key injuries for the entire team, for either team. Because something I do want this video to be is educational for your own bracket making. For example, I think JT Toppin or Caleb Wilson for Texas Tech and UNC respectively are both injured and going to be out for the tournament. That will impact your decision making when picking your teams. So I do hope that we can get some insight into some of these injuries going into the tournament. Then I wanted to give a score prediction and why it picked the team. And I also, something I did was I gave it some statistical data for how often seeds do well within a tournament. So this is giving data for the likelihood of a of each seed to win a certain number of games in March Madness. And the second table is giving data for how far each team gets in March Madness. So we can see the one time that a 15 seed made the Elite Eight when St. Peter's did it a couple of years ago. So, and I made sure to also note that the teams are more important than the seed, but it should be taken into consideration because obviously we don't just want it to pick the higher seed in every matchup. And then I did ask it in my chat to ask any questions based on this document, and I gave it some extra answers to help out. So we put that in and had our research done, and I did have it predict our first four matchups so that we can get started here and just make sure it actually works. And this is what it had to give. So it is ready to start predicting the bracket, and this is its prediction for Texas versus NC State. So this is just an example of what it's going to do. I'm not going to read through all of these responses. Like I said, you are always free to stop the video and see what ChatGPT has to say about your team or any other team within the tournament. I do implore you to do that, especially if you're trying to use this to help learn a little bit about these teams and learn about your own bracket. This is, at the end of the day, meant to be a video not only for entertainment, but to help you win your own bracket leagues. So it's going to first give why Texas can win the matchup. It is also going to give why NC State can win the matchup. Then it is going to tell us, so there are no major injuries for either team. And then it gives a score prediction saying that they believe that Texas is going to beat NC State. They mentioned that the deciding factor for this is defensive efficiency and pace control. It's pretty cool that it's giving us actual statistics here for why they believe that Texas is going to win. So I do hope to look at this throughout the tournament. So we are just going to go through our first four matchups here, get these over and done with, and then we get into the meat and bones of the action. So next up, we have predict Miami of Ohio versus SMU. And it shouldn't take too long to give us these responses, because pretty much what I had it do is create a document based on from the deep research, and then now it is just pasting out its responses from this. Because one issue we had last year is that the responses at the end of the tournament were a lot worse than responses at the start, because ChatGPT starts to cache away data from the beginning of a conversation as you go on. And the conversation actually gets a lot worse as it goes on. You can see this a lot if you ever have a really long-running conversation with ChatGPT. Maybe I do a lot of coding with ChatGPT, and I run into this issue where after a while, the responses will get a lot weaker because there's so much data it's trying to hold in. And that's why it does start to cache that data away. So they predict that SMU will beat Miami of Ohio. So we need to remember that. I think just for my reference, let's highlight these here, just so I make sure to put in the right one. And I will also, to help speed up the process a little bit, just paste these over. So we now have Prairie View A&M versus Lehigh. I know this is a matchup you guys are all excited for, though. Shout out to you if you are a fan of one of these teams. I think that it's always, I really do like that in March Madness that we have this thing where all of these smaller teams are able to get the chance, and we have some great opportunities to because of that. And they pick Lehigh to win the matchup. And then finally, we'll have UMBC versus Howard. I was a little surprised to see UMBC get a 16 seed. I thought they'd be a little bit higher up. And this will round out our first four matchups before we can really get into the meat and bones of this. So they are running through why UMBC can win, and then now why Howard can win. And they are predicting Howard to win the matchup. So we now have our 64 team bracket set, and we are going to get started with the East. So we have Duke versus Siena to start us off. So, you assume that we won't get any upsets at this point, but you never know. I think that it'll be really interesting to see the number of upsets we get. We only actually had 7 first-round upsets last year, so we didn't have a crazy number of first-round upsets. And so it'll definitely be interesting to see how many they do end up picking. I do hope we get a few because we did not get very many last year, but Duke does unsurprisingly win this game. Next up, we have Ohio State versus TCU. So, Ohio State, they believe that they have great half-court efficiency and defensive rebounding. Now, I'll be honest, I only follow a few teams in college basketball, so it would be interesting to see how accurately they pick the teams that I know well and mention them, because that'll really give us an idea of how well they are doing here. But they predict TCU to win, so technically TCU is an upset, though funnily enough, over the last 10 years, 55% of 9 seeds win, so it's actually more likely that a 9 seed wins. And I think once again, to make this quicker, I am just going to paste out these for the first round. So it's not really actually a huge upset there. And in fact, I'd be interested to see so more people are actually picking Ohio State than TCU, and Ohio State is favored. I definitely would personally pick TCU in this matchup. I'm a big believer in the Big 12 this year, if I am being honest. Obviously, St. John's won the Big East this year. Northern Iowa, very good Division II, I guess not Division II, but FCS football school. And they're predicting a shocking upset here. They are going with Northern Iowa to win this game. So they say that Northern Iowa's ability to slow the pace and execute offensively reduces the impact of St. John's athletic advantage. Expect a tight game where St. John's pressure creates runs, but Northern Iowa's shooting and composure allow them to stay within striking distance before hitting a key shot late. Man, I did not expect we'd be getting a big upset this early. That is awesome to see. And next up, we have... oh no, did I forget? Hopefully it actually predicted Kansas versus Cal Baptist, because I didn't actually include them in my thing. Okay, hold on. We're gonna have to do an off-the-cuff thing here quickly, because I screwed up just a little bit, and I hope that this won't mess up things too much. So I'm gonna stop this response and say I forgot one matchup in the East from the deep research. This is 4 seed Kansas versus 13 seed Cal Baptist. Please, and let me turn on the search feature as well here, because hopefully that'll help make sure we're getting current. Please predict this matchup. The winner will play Northern Iowa, and we will keep the bracket going from there. Hopefully that fixes things a little bit for that. My guess is that they will still pick Kansas. And honestly, I was pretty surprised to see Cal Baptist as such a high seed. They're in a conference that is on its last legs this year. And they are predicting Kansas to win, but they are saying this is a classic 4-13 upset spots, and that Cal Baptist does have some characteristics that make them intriguing. That is interesting to hear from ChatGPT. Let's move on to what I think is a very interesting upset spot. And we are going to have Louisville versus South Florida here. I do still think that Louisville will win, in my personal opinion, but I think that South Florida, as the American champion, is a very interesting team to keep track of. So they are going to predict Louisville to win. They believe that South Florida's best path to victory would be a strong three-point shooting night and forcing turnovers, but they believe that Louisville's defensive ability and ability to control the paint to limit those opportunities. That is interesting to see. Next up, we have Michigan versus North Dakota State. I do hope that this was the only error that I made. Of course, something always has to go wrong while making this, but it is what it is. So we have Michigan State versus North Dakota State. Neither team has any major injuries, and they are going to pick Michigan State to win due to defense and rebounding. Next up, we have UCLA versus USF. Now, this is definitely an interesting matchup. I really liked what I saw from UCLA. This will definitely be an interesting one to see how accurate the injuries are, because UCLA does have 2 injuries. Oh, man. See, this is the biggest issue always with this, is that you never know with these injuries. And obviously, they don't have a confirmed major injury to a starter, but 2 of UCLA's best players are injured coming into this tournament, and we aren't 100% sure how healthy they will be. With that being said, they do pick an upset here and pick UCF to win the game. And finally, we have UCF or UConn versus Furman. And you definitely imagine this will be a win for UConn. And they do pick UConn to win. So we are going to we're going to get to the final 4 of each portion of the bracket. I think that that'll help us be a little smoother for this video, just so we can stay with these teams that we have. We are going to predict Duke versus TCU. We have started the East's round of 32. I also cannot spell, which definitely does not help. See, I do even want to say that Duke is dealing with some issues with injuries as well. So the fact that it said that Duke doesn't have any key injuries is a bit concerning for this one too. And they are predicting that Duke will beat TCU in the game. They believe that Duke's defensive efficiency, rebounding edge, and overall talent depth makes them the strongest team over 40 minutes. So you can even see with this that Duke, actually, their biggest issue, if you watched the ACC tournament at all, was they basically had 0 depth because they had so many issues down the bench with injury. But they do believe that Duke is going to move on, so we will just trust in ChatGPT. So let's see if it has any issues with Kansas versus Northern Iowa. Hopefully it will remember from earlier in our conversation and get this all right. It seems like it does. So they're talking about that their strong win in the Missouri Valley Conference. So they actually did mention their limited availability for Darren Peterson, and he has had some issues with availability this season, but he is back now. So hopefully he should be able to stay healthy throughout the tournament, and they predict a Kansas win. Next up, we have Michigan State versus Louisville. And this is definitely an exciting second round matchup for sure. And I think that this is a very good matchup. I actually might tip Louisville to win this game in my personal bracket. But they do pick Michigan State to win. It seems like they like a lot of teams' defense and rebounding, but they also like their tournament experience. So, and that's a fair point given that they have made the last 28 tournaments straight. They have the second longest streak after Kansas of making the tournament. And yep, they have Michigan State moving on. And then we have predict UConn versus UCF. And this is when I wonder if we could see an upset from ChatGPT here. This is where a lot of people are tipping that UConn will go out in the second round. So they definitely think that UCF's path to athleticism will be on, or path to victory relies on athleticism. I swear I'm illiterate, man. But they do think UConn's going to win, which means that our top 4 seeds will make the Sweet 16. Hopefully this doesn't happen in every single one. I do hope we get a little bit of variability. But we have Sweet 16 next. Predict Duke versus Kansas. Could we see Kansas pull off at the upset here? That would definitely be exciting to see. Yeah, I always do enjoy seeing what other people are picking here. And nobody is picking Kansas to win this game. Maybe ChatGPT will, though. And they are picking Duke to win a close one. And they are saying it comes down to athleticism, perimeter, defense, and scoring versatility. Honestly, I think for Duke, that's a pretty accurate description of where they can find success. Then we have UConn versus Michigan State on the other side. UConn obviously getting crushed in the Big East final. Michigan State, I want to say they lost to UCLA in the Big Ten quarterfinals. And they are going to predict UConn to win the game, which means we do have a 1-2 matchup in the Elite Eight. And we will see who ChatGPT thinks will be our first participant in the Final Four taking place in Indianapolis this year. Who are they going to pick? They're going to go with Duke. We are 1 for 1 on 1 seeds this year. They even say, hey, they know the Final Four is in Indianapolis. Do they know anything else? And we have one of our 4 Final Four participants on the cards now. Now we will move on to the West. And it's cool to see Long Island in the tournament. I always love seeing some of these rogue schools in the tournament. Long Island is definitely one, especially I have family from New York City, so it's cool to see teams like that in the tournament. So they don't believe that either team has any injuries. I gotta be honest, I don't know. So I really know just these top teams with their injuries, and I don't think Arizona's dealing with any injuries. So, yep, they are picking Arizona to move on to the round of 32. Next up, we have a spicy matchup between Villanova and UConn. I know that a lot of people really like, or not UConn, Utah State. Oh man, I'm not on my game today, unfortunately. This is what happens when I do a video with absolutely zero script, clearly. It all doesn't go to plan. But I'd say this is a fun thing to do, and I really hope that this helps you out with giving you some entertainment, seeing who ChatGPT has to pick, and hopefully helping you predict your own brackets. And they have Utah State beating Villanova. So we are now 2 for 2 on 9 seeds winning. And yeah, this one is actually quite close with who people are predicting to win also. Next up, we have one I know a lot of people like the upset for, though I do really like Wisconsin personally. So we have Wisconsin versus High Point. And yeah, they see that High Point is definitely a big X factor here to potentially pull off an upset. They are 30-4 this year. So, but they do think Wisconsin is going to pull it out. So we move Wisconsin on, and I know this is another one that people are pretty definitely liking the upset for, is this Arkansas-Hawaii matchup. Well, clearly not a lot of people are picking it. This one definitely more people are picking. And let's see if who ChatGPT chooses to pick here. And oh no. Okay, good. I thought we were hung up for a second. They have picked Arkansas. So we have Arkansas moving on to the next round. So then obviously we have BYU, and I want to say, yes, BYU versus Texas. So let's see if they mention the #1 player in the country, AJ DeBansa, at all. Whoa, we have an upset here. Texas taking down BYU. That's interesting. I don't see it personally, but we have Texas moving on to the round of 32. That is exciting right there. They believe that Texas has an advantage in defensive pressure and athleticism. So we next up have Gonzaga versus Kennesaw State. And obviously, if this was a football game, Kennesaw State would be clear, partly because Gonzaga doesn't even have a football team. But their loss. But we are playing basketball in this one, which means I think that Gonzaga are likely to win, and they crush them. 15-point game, and we are going to see Gonzaga move on. Next up, we have Miami versus Missouri. And this is another spicy first-round matchup. I definitely was a little surprised to see Miami this high. I really didn't think they would be. I thought they would have been closer to an 8 or 9 seed. But they get a 7 seed. The committee clearly sees something with them. And they are going to predict Miami to just win in this game. Okay, well, don't tell us who you're predicting to move to face. Oh, has this happened? Oh my God. Okay, hold on. We're going to have to. I did not even realize this was happening. So we're going to have to. We're going to have to set the record straight here and make sure that they don't do this anymore. So we're going to say, make sure to not spoil who the team will be facing in the next round. Predict Purdue versus Queens. Now, Queens, this is a team I thought was located in Queens. Turns out this team is located in North Carolina, in Charlotte, I think. Who would have known? I actually am pretty sure this team is merging with the school Elon for the upcoming year. So that's definitely interesting. In their final year, they are merging with Elon. Though I don't think their athletic department's merging with Elon. So I do think they'll still have two. Queens will have a basketball team and Elon will have a basketball team. But as we expected, Purdue will be moving on. So next up we have Arizona versus Utah State. And I imagine that we will get Arizona getting the win here, but who knows? They believe that Utah State's path to victory relies on defensive efficiency and tempo control. And they are predicting Arizona to win the game, unsurprisingly here. Next up, we have Arkansas versus Wisconsin. Could we get at least a small upset here? I don't even know how much Arkansas would be favored over. People are definitely picking more Arkansas than Wisconsin. I personally have Wisconsin making it to the Sweet 16, so I have gone Wisconsin here in my own personal bracket. Ooh, we are starting to get a bit of lag here. And they are picking Arkansas to win. Ooh, this is where we're starting to get into the territory. Are we getting all high seeds in the Sweet 16? I really hope not. Come on. Let's see a Texas win here. Let's get some change of pace. And they believe that Gonzaga benefits from their size and rebounding. And Texas is all about forcing turnovers. And the higher seed prevails again. Now we have Purdue and Michigan. Now or Purdue and Miami. And something I actually meant to, Purdue is actually a team I know quite a bit about, so we should be able to see how accurate their descriptions of teams are. I would definitely agree between Oscar Clough and Trey Kaufman-Renn. You do have to say that they have some good interior size, and yeah. When defenses collapse, Purdue's guards are able to generate open perimeter shots. I would say less generate open perimeter shots and more find the open man. That's kind of Braden Smith's way of rolling. Definitely agree their offense is often patient and methodical, so there are some good things here for sure. And they believe that Purdue's going to win the game, which means we have the higher seeds again. Come on. Give us an upset in the later rounds. Can we get the SEC champion taking down the Big 12 champion here? Come on. We know that you want to do it, ChatGPT. Come on. Definitely agree with this too. Attacking the basket is a big thing for Arkansas, but they pick Arizona to win the game. Come on, give us. Okay, I actually want to see them pick Purdue because I like Purdue. So maybe this isn't the right one to pick an upset for. Let's see what they do. Come on. Yeah, we definitely are starting to get quite a bit more lag, which is a little concerning. And they do pick Purdue. And they do get this right. Features two of the most efficient offenses in the tournament. And obviously, Purdue is the #1 offense in the tournament. Gonzaga is also very highly ranked in offense. And now we have our Elite Eight. Arizona versus Purdue. Who will be the second team moving to the Final Four? Arizona, in my opinion, is definitely one of, if not the favorite for the tournament, especially with a lot of Duke's issues right now regarding depth. I definitely think Arizona can pull it off. Like I said before, I'm a big Big 12 guy this year. And wow, they've gone for Purdue. We aren't getting all 1 seeds this year like we did last year. So that's positive. That's good to see. So we have 2 of our 4 teams figured out. We have Duke on one side, Purdue on the other. Let's find our other 2 teams. We will go with the South next, where we will have Florida versus Lehigh. Can we get a shocking 16 seed being the 1 seed? I don't think so, but maybe. Let's make sure did I get these all here? Here's the South. Yes, I did. Good for me. Good for me. Oh, I need to stop going out while it's not liking me going out of the thing while it's generating the response. Might have to click a quick refresh button here. There we go. And it's predicting a close one here. Florida winning by 32 points. And have to agree with them on this one. Next up, we have Clemson versus Iowa. I was actually surprised to see Clemson ranked this low. I thought they could have maybe even sneaked in as a 6th seed. And they're all the way down to an 8 seed. So I'm definitely liking them coming into the tournament. And it is definitely unfortunate, though, because they're an 8 seed, they do have to play Florida in the second round, which I have to say, Florida didn't look great in the SEC tournament. But and they're predicting Iowa to win. So we are 3 for 3 on 9 seeds beating the 8 seeds, which sometimes that does just happen. 9 seeds win more than 50% of the time in these games. So it is possible. Next up, we have Vanderbilt versus McNeese. Vanderbilt obviously have somehow figured out how to completely turn around their athletic department over the last couple of years and are apparently now good at basketball and football, though now they're not as good at baseball. So I guess they took away their baseball money and gave it to football and basketball. And they are going to predict a McNeese upset. Wow. McNeese, for the 2nd year in a row, takes down a higher seed and moves on to the next round. That's exciting stuff right there. And we actually have another game that could be an upset, in my opinion. We have Nebraska versus Troy. Nebraska have never made it past the round of 64 in March Madness. And could they finally do it? I hope so, because that's an awful record to have. And but Troy, out of the Sun Belt, is an exciting team in my opinion. I've seen a couple of their games from watching them play against App State, and they have some exciting stuff here. But they do have Nebraska winning, and they believe that their defensive discipline, rebounding advantage. I didn't know strength of schedule helps you win a game in a tournament, but what do I know? What do I know? With all that being said, Nebraska wins the game. Wow. I'm at a loss for words on that one. Now, I will say this is a very, very popular upset spot in this tournament. And I know I picked VCU, and this will be a good one to see on injuries because obviously North Carolina has a huge injury with Caleb Wilson being out for the rest of the year. Will ChatGPT pick up on this injury? Of course not. That's definitely disappointing to see. But they do actually pick VCU to win. So something that I've noticed is with these teams that have had some injury issues, even though they haven't mentioned the injuries, they have actually picked the other team to win. So we saw that with UNC, and we also saw that with UCLA earlier in the tournament too. So I'll be interested to see whether they pick the upset for Texas Tech too and go 3 for 3 on these injured teams. But VCU is a very popular upset spot this year, and with UNC's injuries, it's definitely a possibility that they could get upset. And they think that their defensive pressure and ability to force turnovers will give them the chance to win. So next up, we have Illinois versus UPenn. Penn hit an absolutely insane shot at the end of the Ivy League championship game to take it to overtime. And they kind of proved us why you're really supposed to foul in those situations and not let teams get off the three, because there's no reason that Penn should be in this tournament over Yale. But it is what it is. But they are predicting Illinois to win this game. We see Illinois advance. No upset here. Now, this is definitely one. More people are picking the 10 seed than the 7 seed in this one. I have to agree on this one, though. I do have to admit, I am a Texas A&M fan. So I do want to see my team do well. I don't know how well Texas A&M will be able to do in the tournament. They have had some serious struggles over the course of the year. Really, it all kind of comes down to, for a lot of these SEC teams, how much of a gauntlet is the SEC? Is that why a lot of these teams have looked worse than they actually are? I think that that'll be the case with a lot of these teams like Texas, like Tennessee, like Kentucky, that we've seen have some struggles. See whether they are just not that good, or whether the SEC is just really difficult to play in. And they are picking Texas A&M to win. They are agreeing with the majority on this one, which is pretty crazy because that is our 4th upset of this 8-team group. And hopefully, because of that, we won't have the top 4 seeds all in our Sweet 16 in this side. But now finally, we have Houston versus Idaho. Idaho are a team I thought would be ranked a little higher too. I actually had them as a 13 seed, I wanted to say. Maybe a little surprised to see them this low down the board. Don't think they have a chance against Houston, though. Houston are one of the best teams in the country for me. I'm actually very intrigued here. Is the statistic from ChatGPT correct about Houston allowing 62 points per game? Let's have a live fact check here. I'm typing in, how many points does Houston men's basketball allow per game? Oh my gosh, I spelled Houston horrendously wrong. I am. And let's see what ESPN has to say about this. I want team stats, not... Well, Google AI says it's about 58 to 62 points per game, but that is for the 2025 season. So, who knows? With all that being said, they're predicting Houston to win. So, no upset there. Next up, we have Florida versus Iowa. Oh my gosh, my spelling today. It is on another level of bad. I'm sorry you have to stick with me through this. And if you are, then fair play, because my typing today has been a disaster. So we have Florida versus Iowa. Can we see an upset here? I actually think this is definitely a spot that we could see an upset. With how Florida's played recently, I wouldn't be the most shocking thing I've ever seen. So we have, man, how different is this to football? Their biggest strength is offensive firepower and pace. Man, give some of that to Iowa football, man. But they're predicting Florida to win the game. And yeah, so unsurprisingly there. Next up, we have Nebraska versus McNeese. Could this be one we see a shocking upset for? I'd like to see it. Come on. So we have, oh man, we're really starting to get this lag here. That is not good to see. We still, close game. And it all comes down to Nebraska's size here, which is, unfortunately, that's the reality of these Power Four teams. Really, Power Five with the Big East and college basketball. So, is what it is on that one. But could we get an upset here? I actually think I picked VCU to win this game. So will ChatGPT agree with my picks here and go with VCU as well? I hope they do, just so we don't get the top 4 seeds again. Come on. Oh, of course they pick Illinois. Of course they do. So we have Houston versus Texas A&M to finish this off, and this is not what I'm optimistic about. We get an exciting Texas matchup here. Schools are only, I think, 3 hours apart. College Station is quite literally in the middle of nowhere in Texas, so it's always difficult to judge how far away it is from different things. But you have to think Houston's got to be the favorite here. But can nope. And once again, seeds 1 through 4 move on. Now this is one I really think could be an upset because I really don't know what I think of this Florida team. They have had some major struggles in their last couple of games. So could we see an upset here? I hope so. We need something but a 1 and 2 seed in the Elite 8. See, the unfortunate thing is, as much as I'm saying this, if you go look at last year's bracket, it was mostly 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds in the Sweet 16. And then, obviously, our 4-1 seeds are the 4 teams that made the Final Four. And we have Florida winning. So, as much as it's kind of infuriating, the lack of upsets we are getting here, is it really even surprising? It is trying to predict the perfect bracket, and it's just there's not a lot of upsets that have happened recently. I say that, but 2 years ago we got a 15 seed in the Elite 8, so who knows? Let's see. Who will they pick? Houston, of course they do. Another 1 and 2 seed. So we finish this off. Oh my god, I respelled it twice and still got it wrong. Oh man, what a disgrace. Oh, transition scoring. The big words from ChatGPT here. That's some real basketball terminology it's giving us. And will They pick Houston. So we only actually have had one seed make it through out of our first three. And more people are picking Houston than Florida. So it's not massively off here. I'd be interested, are more people picking? No, way more people are. That does make sense to me. I think Arizona might be the national title favorite. So but let's move on to our last region. We have the Midwest. Oh my gosh. This is disgraceful for me. And we do have Howard, correct? Yes. And then we'll also have SMU that will take on Tennessee in this round as well. Oh man, we're really starting to get held up here. This is rough. This is really, really rough. I hope that I might have to go into another browser to finish this off. Here we go. And unsurprisingly, they are picking a Michigan win to start us off. I almost hope Georgia wins this game so they predict Georgia to win this game just so we don't have all lower seeds winning. It makes me, I definitely think that the one thing I do need to make sure of in the future is that it definitely seems to me like they've overvalued picking specific seeds and not specific teams that they like. Because, for example, I think that so they predict Northern Iowa to beat St. John's. I think this is a much less likely 5-12 upset compared to High Point over Wisconsin. And I think it is just trying to get some of those 5-12 upsets in there. And same thing with these 8-9 upsets. And yeah, we are really starting to move slowly here. And they are picking Georgia to win. I think that's good to see. That shows me that they're not just trying to pick. And I actually think probably the 8 seed that is most likely to beat the 9 seed here. I don't think that a lot of people are that high on St. Louis coming into the tournament, especially with their recent poor form. And this is another interesting one for me. Will they predict Akron to win this game because of the injury to JT Toppin? Even if it doesn't directly mention the JT Toppin injury, will they still take that into account when actually predicting the game like they have in some past ones? And we will see. I assume already that we won't see them mention the injury that Texas Tech is dealing with. Yep, unsurprisingly. But with that being said, once again, they do predict the upset for the team that is having the major injury. So something about them seeing this is making them consider there being an upset here. So that is very, very interesting to see. So next up, we have Alabama versus Hofstra. And this is one I doubt will be an upset. Funnily enough, you say that, and then today we get news that Alabama's second highest scorer has been arrested on charges of possession of stuff. I'm not going to say what it is. I'm not sure what the YouTube guidelines on saying some of those specific words are, but definitely look it up if you want. I think it's something you'll have to take into account when predicting your brackets. So I don't think he'll actually miss the tournament, but you never know. We have Alabama winning this one, though. And then we have Tennessee versus SMU. I think this is going to be a popular upset spot, too. Assuming that SMU just beat Miami of Ohio, I think most people are expecting that to be the case for SMU to win that game. And will Tennessee be able to pull out the win, or will SMU get the dub here? Oh man, we're really starting to slow down here. Just need to get through a few. We only have, how many more picks do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 more to go. Just get through it for me, man. Get through it for me. I've hit the reload button again here. And they've picked Tennessee to win. So no upset here. We get Tennessee moving on. Next up, we have Virginia versus Wright State. I don't know. Something about Wright State feels like a team that could upset Virginia here. It's an interesting spot for me. Virginia has a first-year head coach. Wright State makes the tournament a lot. There's something interesting here. But I still think Virginia is going to win, but maybe it'll be a little closer than some of us think. Maybe. But they are pretty, honestly, their score prediction is pretty close. A single-digit game for a 3-14 seed matchup is not crazy. So we're going with Virginia here. Next up, we have Kentucky versus Santa Clara. This is definitely one that I really don't see being an upset here. I just don't think that the West Coast Conference is a very good conference in my mind. So I got to stop closing out during that. This is what's screwing me up, is keeping leaving the application keeping leaving ChatGPT while it's producing a response. But yeah, I think that Kentucky, they've had some struggles, but they looked quite good against Florida, especially in that second half. And I do like them coming into this tournament. And they do take down Santa Clara. Now, unfortunately for them, a team that I really, really like coming into this tournament is Iowa State. And they are taking on Tennessee State. And I am hopeful that I am at heart an SEC guy. So I am hopeful that the SEC does pretty well. But yeah, like I've said throughout this video, and I will stand by it, I am a big Big 12 guy this year. I think the Big 12 will dominate this tournament. And while we're at it, might as well give you some of my predictions. And we're seeing what the Final Four is from ChatGPT. But this is the first time I've actually seen them give stats. Now, okay, this is something we can check. Does ChatGPT get their stats right? So let me take a look at. I'm going to take a look at Tennessee State's leading scorers and see if, by any chance of the imagination, ChatGPT has done something well. So Tennessee State's top scorer is well, that's nailed on. Fair play. They've done something well. Nice. And yeah, so that's good to see that they've done something right here. So wait, I just want to confirm they do have Iowa State moving on. I guess I never actually checked that, but that's good to see that that makes me hope that the other stats we've been seeing are also right. So we have the round of 32 now. Oh my gosh. Oh no, it's so bad. And I still spelled Georgia wrong. Oh, it's all going wrong. It's all going wrong. Also, please pick Georgia. We need some upsets here. We can't go 4 for 4 on having all 1 through 4 seeds. Come on. Give us an upset here. Once again, Always feel free to pause the video. You can take a look at any of these. Oh, we just gotta wait. And of course they pick Michigan. Oh, it's really the man. I'm allergic to having all these higher seeds win. That's what it is. Come on, ChatGPT, pull through for me. You need to get through like 8 more games, and then we never have to chat about this again until next year when we do this again. But hopefully your systems will be a little bit better next year. I want to say we would have been on ChatGPT 4.0 next year, and right now we're doing this on ChatGPT 5.3. So we're getting a lot better out of ChatGPT than we have in the past. Still, and of course you have Alabama win. Come on, let Tennessee. Tennessee means so much to me, man. Let's let Tennessee win this one. Though I do really like Virginia too. That's where I grew up. But Tennessee has been another one of those teams. Tennessee and Texas A&M have been my 2 big teams throughout my life. If you watched my past videos, you would know this. So, I do want to see them do well in the tournament. I don't think either one's going to do very well. No chance I would ever pick Tennessee to win this matchup over Virginia. So, we'll see. I am not an optimistic fan. It's a close one, but they do pick Virginia. And this one is just not going to be an upset. You know, it's ironic, I just realized this. If somehow Tennessee and Kentucky win, they'd play each other in the Sweet 16, which they did last year, and I know that because I was at the game. I was able to go to Purdue. It was Purdue versus... Ooh. Unless it was Purdue versus Kentucky and Tennessee... No. What games was I at? I feel like it was Tennessee versus Kentucky. And then Purdue played. Oh no. This is really upsetting me because I can't come on. Okay. Well, of course I put it in the chat bot and now it's going to get hung up. So let's refresh while I'm looking this up. I was literally at these games. It was the Sweet 16 games that they had in Indianapolis that I was at. Let's see. Okay, it was Houston versus Purdue and then Kentucky versus Tennessee. So I was right. And they are picking... Oh, wait. Did I type in the wrong thing? Oh my gosh. This is horrible from me. So we have, sorry, meant to do Iowa State versus Kentucky. Probably why this, the response was a little shorter too. So, you assume, at this point we have to assume they're going to pick Iowa State. I definitely don't think Kentucky would have a chance in this game, but who knows? Come on. You literally only have like 4 or 5 more games to go. And they do pick Iowa State. So we're all in on all the 1 through 4 seeds make it to the Sweet 16 in every bracket. Make sure to lock that in because that's what ChatGPT thinks is going to happen. Hopefully we get a little bit of diversity in not having the 1 and 2 seeds though being our 2 teams in the Midwest coming out. At least this time we haven't had all 1 seeds. That's a little bit better than we had last year, because last year we had all 1 seeds. Turns out that was completely correct. So what do I know? But it's boring for the video, so who really wants to see that? And they're predicting Alabama. We have got a 4 seed beating a 1 seed for the first time in this video. That's awesome. So Alabama, they take down Michigan, and we are going to, hopefully we get a little bit of a lower seed in the Final Four here. And okay, let's see. So we have Virginia versus Iowa State. I think Iowa State is going to do really well in the tournament. I have them making it to my Final Four. To go through my Final Four predictions quickly, I have Iowa State making it out of the Midwest. I have Houston making it out of the South. I have Arizona making it out of the West, and I have Duke making it out of the East. So then between Duke and Houston, I have Houston winning, and between Arizona and Iowa State, I have Arizona winning, and I have Arizona winning my tournament. And they have Iowa State making it to the Final Four, or the Elite Eight as well. So we do have a 4 seed in our Elite Eight. Will they win? Maybe. So we have Elite 8 time. Predict Alabama versus Iowa State. And will we get 4 seed Alabama in our Final Four? It'll be good for the content. It would be good for the content. Let's see what they pick. It's hung up. I need to remember to stop leaving while I want to be able to talk about stuff while it's producing the response. Oh, and they pick Alabama to make it to the Final Four. Nice. So we don't have all 1 and 2 seeds in the Final Four. So in our Final Four, we have Duke versus Houston and Purdue versus Alabama. So let's go for this. So Final Four time. Predict Duke versus Houston. Come on. Who will be moving on? And I will say, if they pick Houston, it'll give me some confidence in myself for the fact that I picked Houston to make the national championship game. Will it... Who will they pick? Ooh, it's getting exciting now. It's getting very exciting. Of course, we're hung up again. And the score outcome is Houston over Duke. Houston has locked their spot in the final. And for these Final Four matchups, I will read through their whole reason why they picked. This matchup is likely to be extremely competitive, featuring Duke's offensive talent against Houston's elite defense and rebounding. The deciding factor is Houston's ability to control the pace and generate second chance opportunities. If the Cougars slow down the game and limit Duke's transition scoring, they gain a significant advantage. Duke's offensive talent should keep the game close throughout, but Houston's defensive pressure and rebounding edge could ultimately determine the outcome late in the second half. Houston advances to the national championship. That's exciting. The fact that they aren't just instantly picking the 1 seeds, and not only did it pick all the 1 seeds, it predicted Auburn to win the whole tournament last year, which means it predicted the #1 overall seed to win everything. Okay. And now we have our other Final Four matchup, Purdue versus Alabama, representing the East and Midwestern regions. I'm excited. I don't know about you. I assume we're going to get hung up again. We'll just have to wait around here for it to fix itself. Oh, maybe we don't get hung up this time. That would be a pleasant surprise for sure. We haven't gotten past why Alabama can win, though. Up here we go. Okay. Okay. The next scroll is the other team that's making the final. It is Purdue. Purdue wins 82-77, and the reason they picked Purdue is this match features two very different styles. Purdue's size and structured half-court offense versus Alabama's tempo and perimeter shooting. While Alabama's pace and shooting could keep the game competitive, Purdue's interior scoring and rebounding advantage provides the key difference. Over the course of the game, Purdue's ability to control the paint and generate efficient half-court offense should allow them to maintain a narrow lead. Alabama's three-point shooting will likely produce scoring runs, but Purdue's consistency inside should ultimately determine the outcome. Purdue advances to the national championship game. So, in our national championship, we have Houston versus Purdue. And I will also, for the memes, put in the total score. Might as well enter in for the challenges. So why not? And national championship time. Predict Houston versus Purdue. And this is our final matchup here. Before we see it, I do just want to thank you all so much for sticking with me and watching this video. I know this is a long one. I know there have been some technical difficulties along the way, but unfortunately, despite what some people say, AI might not be quite as long as you think. It's still got some definite drawbacks, but it is still just so fun to see how it does. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below your thoughts on the video. Let me know if you have any suggestions for how I can do this in the future, and make sure to give me your prediction for March Madness down below. But let's see who ChatGPT predicts to win. Whew. I'm excited. We've got... Okay. Neither Purdue nor Houston enters the championship with any major injuries. Its scoring prediction is Houston 69, Purdue 65. ChatGPT predicts that the Houston Cougars will win the 2026 March Madness Championship, win the national championship game this year, and they are picking Houston because it will be a defensive battle between two extremely disciplined teams. Purdue's size and interior scoring will present challenges, but Houston's defensive pressure and relentless offensive rebounds give them a slight edge. If Houston can disrupt Purdue's offensive rhythm and generate second chance opportunities, they can control the game's momentum. Purdue's half-court offense will keep the game close throughout, but Houston's defensive intensity and ability to win the possession battle could ultimately make up the difference. Houston wins the national championship. And that is it for today, everybody. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye.